Okay, hi everybody. So some of us, we have been swapping interviews with some other elite coaches, and I wanted to take this time to introduce one of the elite coaches. We had the pleasure of meeting at Summit this past July. We did meet in Bridgestone Arena, but a whole bunch of us got a lot more friendly standing outside in the heat on elite night. All of us at the back of the line, back of the alphabet. So we have with us today five-star elite coach Dave Ward, and he's here to share his story and talk about the business with us. Welcome. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been really fun as a bunch of the elite coaches have been kind of swapping team calls, and I think it's been really valuable. At least I know, having you on our call, I got really great feedback from that,
Yeah.
and from most of the other elite coaches that we've had. And it's been just really fun kind of swapping ideas and getting to meet different people and see how different people kind of view the business. I guess I'll start by just kind of telling you my story a little bit, and then I've got hopefully some gems that you can take away. So our story with Beachbody really starts in 2003, and my ex-wife Monica ordered Power 90 off the infomercial, as I'm sure a lot of you did. And, we had just had our second child, and both of us had some baby weight to lose. I'm not sure how I got baby weight. Well, actually, I know exactly how I got it. But I had some baby weight to lose as well. And so we did Power 90, and it was like, wow, this is great. We had tried to go to the gym and couldn't get any sort of consistency going with it, especially with the second child. It was just really tough. And it was just one of those things where we put the kids to bed. And about 9 o'clock every night, we just flip on Tony in his short shorts, dancing around doing show tunes. And that's an inside joke for any of you who have the original Power 90. And got in shape, and it worked. We just found something that really worked for us. And then in 2004, when P90X came out, we got that. I actually have one of the first 500 P90Xs that were ever put out, signed by Tony. And that worked even better, we got even better results. And that kind of led me into a lot of other things. I had a really bad knee injury in 1994, actually. And, 10 years later, I still was suffering from it because the rehab didn't go well and a variety of complications. And I just had kind of resigned myself to being an old dude, and I was playing golf and kind of thought that was about it for me. That was kind of going to be the most activity. I wore a knee brace to play golf, and everybody always made fun of me. And I started doing P90X, and all of a sudden, it got better. I realized, the issue wasn't anything but my knee, the muscles around my knee weren't strong enough, and P90X certainly did that for me. And I had to modify a lot of stuff the first time we did it, but, it got better and better as we went, like everybody probably has. And so you fast forward a couple of years to the fall of 2006, and in between those two things, Monica had really gotten herself entrenched in the Beachbody community. And back in the day, we had message boards. This was before Facebook. So teambeachbody.com had message boards, and that's where everybody connected. And Monica really got involved with the community there. And we had also kind of gotten to know Tony and hosted a couple of fitness camps for him. He used to do these fitness camps where he would come into a city for the weekend. And, I remember the first one we did in Portland in probably 2004 or 3. Yeah, probably 2004. I think there were like 30 people there. Nobody really knew who he was. And then the last one we did was in 2009. There were like 400 people there. And basically they just got too big for him to continue to really be able to do it and do it in a way that he really wanted to. I mean, I remember we sat there until about 2 a.m. one night with him just telling stories, and then he stayed and signed autographs for everybody until like 2 a.m. And he just couldn't do that anymore with, now probably 4,000 people instead of 400 or more. I think about 25,000 in Nashville. So he had to stop doing those. But Monica really built relationships with Tony and with corporate, and got to know those guys. And one of the camps that she attended that I didn't go to was in I think it was San Antonio or Chicago, one of the two. And Carl was there. And so she got to meet Carl and got to know Carl a little bit. And in the fall of 2006, I was in my 6th year of law practice. We had moved to Phoenix, and I was working for the 8th largest law firm in the world, chasing the big money in the law game. And she got a call from Carl. And Carl said, by the way, if you don't know who Carl is, he's our CEO. Everybody pretty much should know who Carl is anyway. But she got a call from Carl, and Carl said, hey, I'm going to start this new business, and I've got a new way to help people stay accountable. And it's going to follow the model that we had on the message boards of you guys supporting people. And before that, they'd actually made her a coach, which meant that she was unpaid and her text was in a different color. That was basically what it was about. And so Carl said, hey, I'm going to, fly about 40 people out to LA and show you guys this new business opportunity and see what you think. If you want to join us, great. If you don't, that's cool too. And I said, no, I'm not going to go. And so Beachbody's always really nice, and they treat me like a founder, and they give me a little founder's badge, and they always announce me as a founder, and I appreciate that. But I didn't go to that founders meeting, and I didn't go because I was really skeptical about the business model. I knew what he was going to propose. I mean, I had a pretty rough idea of what it was going to be, and I didn't believe in it. I really didn't believe in network marketing. And so while Monica was at the founders meeting, I actually was reading through the policies and procedures manual. I read the whole thing with highlighter, just lawyer style, and I actually got on the phone with a lawyer in Portland who sues network marketing companies, because I was pretty convinced that these guys who I knew and should have trusted and had done nothing but good things in my life, I still didn't trust them because I was just really, really skeptical about things. And so Monica went to the founders meeting and decided, yeah, this is something I want to do. She was an elementary school teacher at the time, and wasn't making a lot of money, and was still very ambitious and loved to teach, and recognized that a lot of what we do as coaches is really just teaching people. It's teaching people health and nutrition, then it's teaching people how to do the business, and it's doing stuff like this. So then we kind of fast forward again to the end of 2008, and at that time, my law practice had taken a serious pummeling from the economic meltdown when Lehman Brothers went under. I was doing real estate development, and that was really hot to trot. Sorry for the airplane. I live next to probably the largest naval air station on the West Coast, and that's a jet. So there it is. Anyway, hopefully we won't get too many of those.
That's okay.
So anyway, I've just totally lost my train of thought.
And there goes another jet.
Yeah, another jet goes over. So anyway, I was just kind of totally skeptical, and my real estate practice had really crumbled in 2008. Nobody could get money, and all of the projects that I was working on just came to a grinding halt. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, I was really facing a pretty scary proposition. I think as a man, at some point you recognize, especially when you have kids, you really recognize that your role in your family is to provide. One of your main roles is to provide for your family. And I was really scared that I wasn't going to be able to do that anymore. And I had been really successful at that up until that point. And Monica, meanwhile, was just chugging along with Beachbody, and I don't know where she was at Star Diamond wise, but had, achieved the equivalent of elite back then. It was called Top Coach, and there were like 40 top coaches or 35 top coaches or something like that. But it was basically what we call elite nowadays. And, she was doing really well. And I was like, look, I got to figure out what you're doing, because what you're doing has the potential, at least, to be a major safety blanket or insurance policy, or rainy day fund, or however you want to look at it, for our family. And, she kind of talked to me about it and was like, you really aren't a people person. She was right. I really wasn't. I wasn't very good communicator. I wasn't very good at connecting with people. I was kind of wrapped up in my own thing and what was going on with me. And she sort of said, I don't think you'd be very good at this. Was basically the talk I had. This is my sponsor, right? But being honest with me too. And I said, look, let me just get involved in the back end of things. And I'll do, initially I'll do a lot of the administrative type of stuff that you don't like doing. And I'm pretty tech savvy. I can set up a website. I didn't have any experience doing that. I knew nothing about social media. I didn't even have a Facebook account until Thanksgiving of that year. But I said, you know what? I can figure it out. I'm a pretty smart guy. There's an income opportunity here. I'll figure it out. I don't know. I'll Google it, and that's basically what I did. I kind of just figured it out on my own and launched our website in 2009. And as we started that, I was really into triathlon at that point. P90X had done some pretty incredible things for me. And I was like, and there's a big triathlon community in Scottsdale where we were living. And I just got really into it and I wanted a new bike. And Monica said, well, how much is your new bike? And I said, it's about $3,500. And she said, well, we don't have $3,500, so no new bike for you. And being the clever lawyer that I was, and I guess still am maybe, I said, well, what if I earn that money with Beachbody? So that's just gravy, right? Because I'm still practicing law. I'm still just building this on the side. So I put this big carrot out in front of myself, and we kind of call that our why, right? That's what we always talk about, have a why. And I did all the sort of things that most people do with their why. I plastered pictures of the top 3 bikes that I really wanted. I looked at bikes all the time. I was constantly talking to people during the training rides about the bikes that they had, keeping myself, really focused on that's what I want, that's what I want, that's what I want. So in about June, I think, I had made that amount of money with my Beachbody business. And Monica was smart too. And she realized, well, geez, if he earns $3,500 with his Beachbody business, my business is going to take off because I was on the week. So, and I was actually on the weak leg of her weak leg, and also Lee Ratterman's weak leg. We didn't know anything about placement. So I got kind of stuffed on an inside leg that we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And I told her I was never going to build it anyway, so why would she put me in a good spot?
But it just goes to show it doesn't really matter where you're placed.
Right. That's Lee's strong leg now.
Right.
But Lee's been a great business partner, by the way. That turned out really, really well. To have her above me actually was probably very fortunate. But anyway, so after I got the bike, I started to really look at the business much more seriously. And I was like, wow, if I could do that in 5 or 6 months, because I really started in January of 2009. If I could really do that in 5 or 6 months, what could I do in 5 or 6 years? And I really started to see this as being a huge income opportunity. Mm-hmm. So I went to Monica and I said, okay, so if the goal here is to maximize the income opportunity, all right, then how do we do that? And she said, well, there's kind of 2 paths we can go down. And one is more of a recognition-based path where, you're going to hit a lot of goals in your business and be acknowledged. And the other one is an income-based path where we're always going to focus on what maximizes our income. And I said, okay, well, I want that one. The recognition piece is not that it's unimportant to me. It's just not as important to me as it was to provide for my family. So we said, let's follow this income path. And she said, okay, well, here's the thing about that. If we go that route, what that means is you're going to build my business. And I said, okay, that's fine. I don't care. He's like, well, just understand that what that means is that, every year at Summit, I'm the one who's going to walk across stage because the way our business works, recognition is going to flow through her. That's just the way it works. And, to be frank, we've tried to kind of change that, and corporate's been resistant to it. So I remember going to Danny Johnson, and when we were at Danny Johnson, one of the things she said that really resonated with me was, you need to compare your ego to your bank account. And which one's bigger? And I said, well, I need to eat that. And I need to eat my ego, and I need to be willing to build her business and let her take all the glory for our shared work. And it's certainly not that I'm sitting here telling you that I did all the work, because that's not the case either. Right. And so I think combined, Monica's business has been elite every year. There is elite. I think that's 6 years in a row. She hit the Millionaire Club in 2011. We have in that business 24 diamonds or something like that. I've kind of lost count. 24 to 26, something like that. I don't know.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. And I think I tell you that story just in case you're one of those people, or maybe you've got that spouse or significant other out there who is, kind of reluctant to build this business on that side of things, on the income side of things. I think that's really the smart play. You may need to build your spouse or significant other's business and kind of swallow your pride a little bit in order to maximize the income opportunity. That may not be where you're at. You might be in the other situation where the smart move is to maximize, is to build your business right now And you got to just kind of talk to your sponsor and coach or upline star diamond and figure out what the smart play is for you. But that was the smart play for us. And really it was just until, we built my business to 2-star quickly so that we could open a second business center. And then really didn't build it for a couple of years. I mean, I think in 2013, I sponsored one coach who never activated. I still don't think he's actually, no, he just bought something. But he bought something like 6 months ago,
Right.
I mean, so I started off 2014 with zero, in the bank as far as going for elite. But that was the year it really made sense from the money standpoint to build a business. And so last year we both qualified for elite, and I built to 5-star and had a really great year and had our first $1 million year actually, which was pretty awesome. And so, I really think that's one of the things that you should key in on if you're in that situation, or maybe you've got somebody who's in that situation. Maybe direct them to this call or video and talk to them about that, because I really think that it's one of the things that has really kind of driven our business forward, and just my willingness to say, hey, I don't care about the recognition is not important to me. What's important to me is results. And for us, elite has always been that thing of every year we're going to make elite, because that's what moves the engine forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think an important part of your story, I think, is that at the beginning when, I think what most people know of the founders is that they were presented with this incredible opportunity. And you were kind of like the skeptic, as I think a lot of spouses are when they find out. I feel like a lot of times the coaches, that's the roadblock that they run into, why a lot of them want to quit because their spouse isn't supportive. What do you think was really the turning point for you? I mean, I know that you had said you had some trouble with your law practice, it was not doing well. But was it really something just like the bike? Was that what kind of, what changed your mind to thinking, what, I'm going to kind of start to just support Monica before you kind of jumped in?
Yeah, I think it's a bigger thing. It's kind of something that I left out, which was really pivotal moment in my life, which was in November of 2007, my dad passed away. And he had about a 20-year battle with a degenerative nerve disorder that if you had seen him, you would think he had ALS. I mean, that's what it looked like. Mm-hmm. That wasn't what it was. And ultimately, they really couldn't tell me what it was other than he prematurely aged. That was about as good as I could get as far as the answer. And it hit me really hard because I recognized that I just started to think, what if that happens to me? And, or he was 62. So I just said, okay, let's just take that out of the equation because that seems kind of morbid. What if I just got hit by a bus when I was 60, and or had a heart attack or, any of the other things that happen to people as they age? And what if from now, and I was 36, I think 35, 36, I said, what if from now until then, I just do what I'm doing now, which I sort of boiled down to pushing papers around, screaming on the phone, and making money for other people. What if I just do that from now until then? And in the meantime, I just miss out on all of these years of my life that I could be enjoying, and meanwhile, I was thinking, gosh, I have little kids, am I going to miss out on their whole childhood because I'm at the office all the time? Which I was. I mean, I was working crazy hours. Am I going to get to the point where I want to be super active? I'm the type of person who can't sit still. I'm on day 6 of the reset today. You're not supposed to work out. And, I went for a 20-mile bike ride and burned 1,200 calories today because I just can't. I'm just the type of person who can't sit still. And I just could see my life disappearing, and then what, you're 60 and then you can go do that stuff? What's my body going to look like at 60 after sitting in a chair, staring at a computer screen, hanging up on people, stressed out, that whole time? And so I think that was really a bigger thing for me was I started to see that, it was really motivating for me actually too, to go to the events and meet people who were doing this full time. I met people like Mark Briggs, and Robert Hudgens, and guys who were cops and firefighters and in the military and all kinds of different jobs that these guys were in. And school teachers, Pete Pena, I met Pete, and Doug Couch and, all these guys who are on your team. And, those guys like were really enjoying their lives. And I was like, I'm really not enjoying my life. And yet I really, really want to. And so I think that was really the bigger thing for me, was that I could see this as not just a major income opportunity that could save my family from, potential disaster, because eventually in 2010, I did get fired. They fired me about 2 months before my pension was going to vest. Actually, every quarter, and I just got one about 3 days ago, I got a nice little letter from them letting me know that, yes, once again, you did not vest in your pension because we fired you right before you were going to vest. And I could just see that, these guys were really enjoying their lives. And I thought, gosh, what's preventing me from doing that? And when I realized that the thing that was preventing me from doing that was that I liked to go to cocktail parties and tell people I was a lawyer because I thought it was cool. And I thought it was like intimidating or whatever. And like, just kind of gives you that social status or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I realized that was the main thing that was really preventing me from doing something that I really did enjoy. I mean, that was the other thing, is as I got into coaching, I really had fun with it. I think that that's one of the pieces of advice that I always give to people is really go have fun with this thing. Understand that what we're doing here is we get paid to help people. And if that's true, then isn't that fun? So go have some fun with it. Don't stress out about it. Don't look at it like it's a job or like it's some sort of a chore. Just go have fun with it. And that was what was happening for me, is I was really having fun. I was getting a big kick out of working with the customers and helping people get results. And I was like, okay, so on one hand, I've got this job that I really don't like, that's stressing me out, that is falling apart anyway, and who knows when it's going to come back. And on the other hand, I've got this thing that is kind of new and kind of weird and totally different, and everybody that I know is telling me it's a huge mistake to give up my law career and go do this because I'm such a bright young lawyer. But I really enjoy it, and it's really fun, and I've seen these other people who have achieved these really fantastic results in their life. I think those are kind of the big things for me, was that sense of, maybe my own mortality and a desire to like really enjoy my life now. And then also just the inspiration that I got from meeting other people who were really winning and doing really well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what people don't understand, is how fun this business is. I feel like we get to go on these trips and we get to have all this fun, and, you have hard days, but what's the hardest day? You've got to work a couple extra hours. Talk to me about kind of how you guys have progressed, especially this last year, because I know that you guys built your business very slowly. What was a couple of big things that really played into you last year? I mean, if you basically had no coaches from 2013, you worked your ass off last year to really get to 5-star and get to elite. What do you feel like was really the most important pieces of that year for you?
For me, I'm a planner, and I'm a very analytical person. So what I really did was, at the beginning of the year, I looked at the criteria, and I knew, how many points I needed, and I recognized the biggest problem I have was I didn't have the players. So basically what I did was I set out a plan for myself to, in the first quarter, really crank and get the players I needed in order to be able to move, right? Because so not to get too deep into the elite categories, but one of the biggest categories, the easiest category where you can scoop up points, is by having your personally sponsored coaches from this year and last year hit Success Club. And if you hit Success Club, doubles your points. Right. It's just low-hanging fruit on the elite tree, right?
Right.
So, but I didn't have any coaches from the previous year.
Right.
So I needed coaches. Like I needed the players. That's how I viewed it. Like, I got to get a team together. I don't have any players. So what do I need to do? I need players. So I really focused on the first and really second quarter too. First and second quarter, I focused on getting the people in place. And so I recruited probably more than I ever have. 2010, we were Elite 10. That year we recruited like crazy, but had kind of been a few years since we'd really been on a big recruiting pitch. And so both of us did, actually. Both Monica and I was like, okay, we're sponsoring pretty much everybody into Dave's business. And we recruited. And then I laid out the categories. And I was like, okay, because there's maximums in each category. So what I did was I said, I just figured out what I really need is like 3 or 4 people to make Success Club every month. If you just break down that category, it's like 3 or 4 people every month. And you max out the category if you make Success Club too.
Right.
So I looked at that and I was like, so what do I need? I need 3 or 4 solid people. Seriously? That's all I need? Okay, great. What do I know? I know that in order to get 3 or 4 solid people, I need like 30.
Yeah.
This is the numbers.
Yeah.
That's just a number. So that was the number that I set. I said, I'm going to go get 30. And I ended up with like 6 or 7 solid people and who were making Success Club every single month. And I was like, okay, so that category is totally maxed out, you know? And then I realized, okay, so I have to get 5-star as well. I was a 2-star at the time. I had one kind of shaky diamond, and the other one, Ryan Chapman, who's an elite coach, who's not a shaky diamond at all. Somebody I knew I could count on. So I need 4 new diamonds, basically. And you got to break 2 new diamonds anyway. So I'm like, okay, here we go.
So that's covered.
Yeah, so I kind of focused on the first half of the year on recruiting, the second half of the year on helping those people that I had brought in, and then a couple of other people who, you know, had been in the business for a while and just needed some life breath, you know, breath into their business, whatever that word is, infused into their business, help those people build. And so the second half of the year was more about working with those people and helping them, you know, get to diamond and also maximizing ATV. Also, you know, got really fortunate. We had some big product releases too. That really helped. You know, the 21-day fix was a huge one.
That was huge.
Yeah. And Max 30 ended up being a huge one right at the end of the year.
Yeah.
You know? So, you know, we had a couple of big product releases. I made sure that we really capitalized on those things too. And there was new stuff that was coming out. I didn't just kind of sit back and let it float by. I said, okay, what's my job? My job is to train people. My job is to teach. How do you know, what's the breakdown? You know, it's kind of what I've done with the performance formula too, is to figure it out. Like, performance formula is different than Shakeology. It's a totally different beast, totally different customer, totally different thing, right? So my job is to figure it out and then teach people how to do it. And that's really what I spent the second half of the year doing. And then every month, you know, when we got our elite reports, I would go through and I would just kind of go, okay, where am I? You know, and I realized like I probably wasn't going to get that ATV number to max out that category. So then I had to max out the other categories. Right. And I just was really diligent about doing the math. I had a big whiteboard, like a king size whiteboard that I had all this information on. Every coach that I had sponsored that year, whether they had made Success Club or not, how many points I had, where my ATV was at, you know, just anything, and where all the diamonds were at. I had it all mapped out, you know, on the board. And so I think that was really the thing for me, is just being really intentional about it, not trying to luck my way into it, but really breaking it down, understanding what it was, and just playing that game and kind of going, okay, well, if this is the game, here are the rules. Great. How do we win? Well, we win by getting players and then developing them. And I think, you know, my advice for people who, you know, maybe are thinking about this as a potential goal, whether it's elite or premier, and I think both have a tremendous amount of value, is start now. It was tough. It was a grind last year. I had to really work hard. And if it's something you're interested in doing, you can start now and put a lot of the players in place, right? And instead of doing what I had to do in the first and second quarter, you can do it here in 2015 in the third and fourth quarter, get those people in place, and then spend all next year working with them and you know, bringing new people in too, but working with those people and helping to build them. And I think it's a lot easier path than the one I had to go down, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't a setup, because I've been telling them that, you know, since probably June, we popped a lot of diamonds in the downline in April and May, and now they're all getting the emails and they're all trying to figure out. And for a lot of them, they're really just missing the diamonds. And I think, you know, getting all that stuff in place now with the coaches that you have that are hitting Success Club now, that signed up this year, groom them, get them. And, you know, they'll get to diamond in the beginning of 2016. And yeah, but then that's it. You have to be intentional about it. And once you break down the point system, it's not as overwhelming, I think, as people would have it believe. I was laughing when you said you have I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 whiteboards like across behind my desk, because I have to see it. And I think having that visual, when you're trying to track something like that takes the whole year, makes it a lot easier, and it breaks it down to make each month a little more manageable.
Yeah, I think that's another really good tip is, anytime you've got something big, this doesn't just apply to Elite, but anytime you're trying to do something that seems like too big to do.
Like buying a bike.
Right? Yeah, if you just break it down into these little segments, right, then all of a sudden it becomes much more manageable. And so that's what I did. I just broke it down into 12 segments, right? And so it was like, okay, 12 segments. Every month, I'm going to just focus on helping people make Success Club, because I know that if they're making Success Club, they're also creating the points in the 500 PV category, and they're also helping me build ATV. So let's just focus on Success Club for that month. And then every quarter, I really take a deep dive into it. Like every quarter, I'd spend like a day understanding, okay, where exactly am I at? And where do I need to get to? What do I need to focus on? Once I got to the point where I had like those solid people in place who were going to make Success Club every month, it was like, okay, I don't need to recruit as much anymore. Now I can focus my efforts on those people. But it was just breaking it down into those little segments that I think really helps any big goal that you want to accomplish. Just break it down.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that they have that tracker now, because last year mine was all over the whiteboards, and now corporate for you guys, I think we have it posted at our team page, but they broke the whole thing down of exactly what you have to do month by month. It takes all of the guesswork completely out of it, aside from the people, but it sets those marks so you know really what you have to do each year. So for so many years, you worked with Monica, and the two of you built her business. And I know, you talked about how, you had to kind of take that step back. And I think there's so much of a message in that too, because you really need to build your business for your life and not for like the spotlight. And I think that we get very jaded with stuff like that with corporate and, the recognition. But how do you feel like you shifted from sort of being in the background to really kind of stepping up last year to lead your own team?
Well, I guess it wasn't really a big transition for me, because I don't know. I'm kind of, if you guys study personality types, I'm like the Ruby, choleric, type A, hard charger. Leadership. There's a jet. That's a big one. Yeah, that's a big one. It's gonna be loud. That wasn't too bad. Just cruising in. Anyway, so I had that leadership role on our larger team already. I mean, I was actively leading the team for years. I mean, in 2009 when I jumped in, I sort of talked to Monica and I said, well, what do we need? What's missing here? One of the things that I believe that leaders do is they find needs and fill them. I mean, I think that's what, at some basic core level, that's really what leaders do, is they find needs and fill them. And that kind of starts really small with helping people, and it's not small, I don't mean to diminish it, but it starts with you helping somebody with their fitness and nutrition needs. That's when you start to become a leader, is when you start helping people with their own lives, and then we get bigger and we start helping people understand the business and how that works and how they, financially we can help them build. And then it gets bigger and you start to look at your team and go, okay, what's missing? And since in 2009, one of the first things she said was, we don't have any way to communicate with the team. So I was like, okay, email seems to make sense. This was, again, really before Facebook was a big part of our business. And so, okay, so what if I create an email list that everybody signs up for, and we have a newsletter that goes out every week? Great, perfect. And so every week I created a newsletter, and the newsletter was a lot like, anything you get from corporate. It was before corporate was really doing that. So it was like, okay, here's what's on sale this month. Here's what's going on. Here's what you should be focused on. Here are the new coaches on our team. Here's somebody, and then I'd spotlight somebody. And that was something I was doing. So the email was coming from me. Then the next thing was, we don't have a team call really organized. It was kind of like a little loosey-goosey, happened whenever. And I said, okay, well, why don't I do the team call? And so every week I started doing the team call Tuesday nights at 5:30, and I started doing the team call every week. And I'd have guest speakers on a lot. And sometimes Monica would take it if I had something going on, but most of the time I was the one doing the call. And it was like, you know, a lot like corporate's call, kind of rewards and recognition based. Then I would go in and I'd do some sort of a training. And sometimes it was just, hey, I'm reading this Jim Rohn book and here's what I'm learning, you know, or, you know, sometimes it would be, hey, you know, here's how you handle objections or whatever. So I think I had stepped into that leadership role. I just understood that, you know, my role on the team, we explained it to them what was going on, and we explained to them how we were building and what we were doing, and that we were doing it together. And so, you know, they really started to view me as a leader pretty early. The other thing I recognized, and the other thing I always think is so important, is that the number one thing you can do to increase your paycheck is to increase your volume. This is a game about team volume and team cycle bonus. And if you're not playing that game, I think you're missing out on the major opportunity here. I just recognized that. And so I knew that I really liked working with people. I really liked to dive deep into their lives and get to know them and help them grow and build. And so I started doing in 2011, started doing these diamond mine groups. And so I would take a group of like 8 to 10 people and work with them one-on-one. And so my call schedule was just really crazy because I had like my own diamonds that I was talking to and any new coaches that I had. And then I had these people who were in this diamond mine group. And it was like sometimes it was 8 weeks, sometimes it was 6 weeks. And I would work with anybody who was willing to work. And that was the main criteria. It was like, you know, I had a kind of a questionnaire and some commitments that they had to make in order to work with me. And I think doing that really established me as a leader as well on the broader scale, because I worked with a lot of Lee's people. I worked with a lot of people who, you know, we had sponsored into Monica's business, and even on down. I mean, I was working with people 3 or 4 levels deep in the organization because they were the people who were willing to work. And I just recognized, hey, look, you know, if somebody 4 levels deep goes elite, that all that volume's rolling up through all of our business centers. That's just going to help us increase the paycheck. So, you know, I think I had jumped into a lot of those leadership roles already. So, you know, that whole thing of, I guess we just never drew a real distinction of, and we started, I guess this is another little piece of advice that I would give you if you're in this situation like I was or am. We started to condition people when they became our customers to understand that it doesn't matter whether Dave is your coach or Monica is your coach, you work with both of us. And so then what we would do is if we had a new coach, which for me is typically our customers, that's kind of how our business has been built. We are like the fitness first people. And when we would have a new coach, both Monica and I would talk to them. And then Monica and I would get together and kind of go, okay, who is better to work with this person? Because I'm kind of like, you know, let's get it done. Person, again, a lot more analytical, a lot more sort of, you know, not as touchy-feely. I can be that when I need to, but that's not my core. Monica, on the other hand, is the ultimate relationship builder. I mean, she has more secrets than you know, because she's able to build trust with people incredibly fast. I mean, it's just an uncanny ability to connect with people on a very deep level very quickly. And so we just kind of would go from there and be like, okay, this person is better off working with Monica. This person's better off working with Dave. And then we just do that. And if it didn't work, then we'd kind of switch.
Right.
And if it was like, hey, you know what, this person is not responding to me, maybe they'll respond to you. And then we kind of switch it off. But we have always done that. I mean, we'd always just work together. We still do. You know, we still do the same thing of, you know, hey, I sponsored a new coach. You know, sometimes she'll be like, look, I'm sponsoring a new coach today. He's some sort of professional job, an accountant or something like that. And I think we've talked and he kind of resonates with your story, but I'm going to sponsor him because, again, that's just the smart move for us right now. Right. But you work with him. Great. Perfect. And then I would go and do that. So I think it's just always been that way of, you know, we share those leadership roles in different ways. So it was pretty comfortable for me to kind of jump into that and build my own business.
So trying to think. I had notes here. So do you have, now let's talk about, because I said you guys building your business when it makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Success Club.
Yeah.
Regardless of whose business it made sense to build, was Success Club always there for both of you guys?
Yeah. I think we were fortunate in some respects and challenged in others because, when I really started this business in 2009, you have to think about the business I was building in 2009. It looks nothing like the business we're building now. There was no Success Club. We didn't even have Shakeology. That summit, which summit was in March then, that summit was when Shakeology in 2009 was when Shakeology and Insanity were released. Like, we didn't even have Insanity when I started this thing.
Right.
Or Sean. Well, no, there was Hip Hop Apps. I take that.
Oh, and there was no challenge packs, right?
Challenge packs, yeah. Challenge packs didn't come in until the end of 2010. So it was a very different business back then and a lot more challenging, to be completely honest. So in early 2010 was when they came out with Success Club. And they had other programs that were like Success Club that were a little different. They had this other thing called Success Links, which didn't make any sense. I'm not even going to explain it because it was silly. And it was a program that just didn't work. It was somebody's idea who I don't even think is a corporate anymore. But they came out with Success Club, and there was a guy working at corporate who we worked really closely with. And we went to Hawaii. We were in Kauai for one of the top coach trips then, or, elite, what is essentially elite now. And I remember we were having breakfast with that guy. And, we just kind of said, okay, let's do it, and so we had made Success Club the first couple of months. And I think this was in March when we were in Hawaii. And he said, you just got to focus on Success Club. Like, just make Success Club and teach your people how to make Success Club. And I don't know, I'm just the kind of person that, unless I think it's complete bullshit, like, I'm probably going to do, I'm like the type of person, I talked about this earlier with Elite. I'm like, just tell me what the rules are.
Right.
Tell me what the rules are, and I'll win the game.
Right.
I don't need to sit here and question the rules and go, well, if the rules were like this, then I'd really win. That's not me. I'm the type, you just tell me what rules you want me to play by, and I'll win. And so that's what this guy said was, just keep making Success Club. Keep making Success Club. I'm telling you, the Success Club thing is going to be huge. So then we went to Summit. And at Summit, they announced that the top 10 people, it was the first time they announced the Elite 10, what's now called the Elite 10 trip. And I'll never forget it. Carl, it was at the end of Summit at our big closing ceremony. And I don't know, I think we had about 1,000 people. It's another check. They're busy today. Usually not this many. But we had about 1,000 people at that summit. And Carl comes out and he's riding a bicycle with a sort of Captain Steubing from the Love Boat outfit on. He's got his little hat and the like knee-high socks and shorts and stuff. And we're like, what is this all about? What is going on here? And they announced two things. The first thing is that next year's Success Club trip, for the people who make Success Club and qualify for the trip, which qualifications are pretty similar now, we're going on a cruise. And so that's why he was wearing the Captain Steubing outfit. And I was like, oh, cool, that'll be fun. And then he said, and it was like, well, what's, and then of course Michael's like, well, what's with the bicycle? And he said, well, we haven't announced it until now, but the top 10 Success Club point earners, which is a little bit different than the way you qualify for Elite 10 now, but the top 10 Success Club point earners are going on a cycling trip in the south of France. And that is a major bucket list item, or was a major bucket list item for me, something I had always wanted to do. At the time, I was super into cycling. I mean, I went for a ride today, but I don't ride anywhere near as much. I'm just riding like about 220 miles a week. I mean, I was on the bike. And I was like, I am going on that. And I'll admit to having a few drinks in me at the time. And we were like, I think we were 11th at the time or something like that. But we were like in the hunt, because we had been making Success Club with what this one guy had told us to do. And so, so I went and I was like, I'm going to go find Carl. And this is back when, like, you could find Carl, like he would just be hanging out. And first I found Michael, and I went to Michael and I was like, dude, we're going. And it was like, okay, what? We're going. Like, you don't understand. Well, ink me in, I'm there. And okay, and then I found Carl, and I told Carl the same thing. And I was the only person who went up to him and told him at any point that they were going to be top 10. They were going, and that I was going on the trip, and I didn't care. Like, I was going on the trip. So what that built for us was a culture of making Success Club every single month, at minimum in Monica's business. And my business, again, when we weren't really building it, not every month was I making Success Club. I'm not like a Success Club all-star. Monica is, though. I think the only month we've ever missed Success Club was the month that we went on that trip in 2011. We went in July. And actually, I went to go tell Carl, this is another little funny story I'll tell this one as a little side. So I went to go find Carl, and I was like, dude, you need to make the trip in July. And he looked at me, and he's like, we're not going to the Tour de France. You know that, right? And I was like, we don't have to go. I'll go by myself. I said, I'll go a week early or stay a week later, but I'm going to go to the tour. So it'd be really cool if you could help me check off 2 of my bucket list items and go on the cycling trip and hit the tour. And we ended up doing that. They booked it in July, and we went a week early, and we went and saw the tour in the Alps. It was just unbelievable. So awesome. And then we went on that cycling trip, and that was cool too, because Carl was pretty game to ride, and so was Jeff Hill. And so I got to spend a lot of time with Carl and Jeff and get to know those guys on a just sort of deep personal level. And, they're people like Carl's a close friend. Jeff is kind of like a father figure to me, really. He's helped me a lot, and I just really appreciate his leadership and, the guy that he is. He's just a fantastic dude. But anyway, back to your thing. That really just created a culture of Success Club for us. I think for us, it's like, Success Club and Elite is what wins the day, and we have, built our business slow and steady is what has really, won for us. And I just recognize I don't need to sponsor 20 or 30 coaches a month. If I sponsor 2 or 3, I can work really closely with those people. If I can get, one of them to make Success Club on a consistent basis, that puts me on track for Elite. And then, of those people, some of them are going to pick it up and run with it. Those are the people that you really, dive in and work with. But yeah, I think Success Club for us is just essential. And, it's now, since last year we both had to qualify every month, and that's kind of what we're conditioned to do now, and so that's just what we do. It's just kind of a non-negotiable item, really. I think if you want to really win in this business, it's just make Success Club every month and teach other people how to do that. And it seems like everything else just kind of falls in place when you do that.
Once you can do
one of those things is taking a big thing that's maybe big and scary and kind of breaking it down into one little thing. And for us, that one little thing is go make Success Club. Good things happen. You get the leads. If you make 10, and you qualify for the trips. There's just all kinds of good stuff that happens if you make Success Club. The other thing I would say on that point is that I believe, and what I've learned in this business is that when you achieve a goal, you give the people that you've sponsored in the business permission to do whatever it is you did. So if you make Success Club, you give all these people down here permission to make Success Club. It doesn't mean they're going to do it. Okay? Doesn't mean they'll do it.
Right.
But if you don't make Success Club, then they look at that and go, well, that must not be important because my sponsor's not doing it. It's the same thing with rank. When you hit Emerald, everybody below you goes, oh, maybe I should hit Emerald. When you hit Diamond, everybody on your team goes, oh, maybe I should hit Diamond too. And you'll get those achievers who go, well, if you did it, I'm going to do it. But it's always the speed of the leader is the speed of the pack. And Success Club is just no different. You got to be hitting Success Club if you really want to win.
Yeah, and that's it. We talk about that all boils down to consistency, and it kind of boils down to showing up every day. And if you show up every day, your coaches are going to show up every day. We know, especially after the 5 Super Saturdays that Carl hit after Summit, he probably was the first guy in the office on Monday because that's just who he is. He'll show up. because then everybody else will. So what kind of advice would you give to new coaches that are just coming on that maybe feel like they aren't sure about pushing for Success Club, or they feel overwhelmed in the business now that we have all of these great tools and all of this training that didn't exist so many years ago when you guys started and it was hard?
Yeah. I guess the first thing is what I said earlier, is have fun. Try to have fun with it. Recognize that what we do is we get paid to help people. And I think this is something that I really drill into people early who come onto our team, and I really drill it into our team. The compensation plan, okay, is if you really break it down and look at the history of the company and how we started and why we're even here. The compensation plan was a way for Carl to pay people for helping other people. If you go every week, I go in and I look at my paycheck and it's like, okay, team cycle bonus and, matching check bonus and my retail sales and, club memberships and then, any Star Diamond bonuses once we hit that quarterly bonus. None of those things actually reflect what I do. Okay. They're an attempt to capture the activity that I do. But what I do is I help people succeed. And I'll tell you that on Thursday when I go and I check my back office, there isn't going to be a line item for doing this call. Okay. I don't get directly paid for doing stuff like this or for sitting around Summit, shooting the shit at a bar or whatever, talking to coaches about how to build their business who probably aren't on my team. But I fundamentally believe that that's what we get paid to do. I get paid to help people. So if I'm helping people, my check just keeps going up. And so I really just ask people to focus on that. Focus on helping other people. Sometimes that, for me and for you, hopefully, means that you can't help them with a Beachbody solution. If somebody comes to me and you need to sell their house, I don't have a Beachbody product for that.
Right.
But I know a lot of realtors. So what will I do? I connect them with the people that I know and I help them solve their problem, right? Now, what that does for me is it establishes me as somebody who helps people solve problems and helps people, achieve their goals, right? So when they do have a Beachbody problem, they always come back to me because I'm the guy who helped them solve the other problem. Why couldn't I help them solve this problem, right? So I think that's the first thing. The first two things, really. Have fun with it. Then understand that what we do, we get paid to help people. So as long as you're helping people, your check should be going up. The other thing I would tell you is that this is a really noble profession. That was one thing that I really had a hard time wrapping my mind around. I talked to you about how, I struggled with this idea of, not being a lawyer and instead being a network marketer, right? And I had to fix that in my own head. I used to get a lot of objections about, pyramid schemes and, all the typical MLM sort of objections that people get. And I recognized through working with a mentor that that was all coming from me because I didn't have my mind wrapped around it the right way. I really had my mind sort of off in this thing of, well, I'm a lawyer. When I really started to break it down and look at the business model and understand that I don't win unless other people win. That's it. Like, you don't win unless other people win. Mm-hmm. I thought to myself, well, isn't this like the best model in the world? I can remember when I was practicing law, every couple of years, there'd be some new hotshot straight out of some Ivy League law school or whatever who would come in and they'd say, well, we want you to mentor this person. Great. I like that. I like teaching people. I like mentoring people. This will be fun. And, it was always some young kid and, they had no family and a lot of money and, would go out, party all the time. And, I was like going home to my family. And then we'd get to my annual review and they would take that person's numbers and compare them to mine. And so this person's kicking your ass. And I said, well, yeah, of course they are, because I'm spending so much time. I spent 200 hours training them how to do this. And they said, well, it doesn't matter, right? We're comparing, you to this person on these criteria, and your hours spent training them mean nothing. And I thought, well, that's a scam. Like, you want to talk about a scam? Law business is a scam. That's a scam. What we do is a really noble profession, and what we do is we really help people win. And you can't be successful in this business unless other people are successful. So once I understood it on that level, I started to really get a deep belief in what we do. And again, like, I saw those other people who were having success ahead of me and who were, really living like crazy lives, and not crazy lives in that they were buying Lamborghinis and things like that. Just crazy lives that, on a Monday morning, they were sitting around in like shorts with no shoes on. Because that's what their life was. This was the type of life they were leading. They were at home. They were, working until 3 o'clock when their kids got out of school, and then they were spending the rest of their day shut down with their kids. That's the life that I really wanted to live, and that's really the life that's in front of you. So I guess that's another piece of advice that I would give to people, is just get good with what we do for a living. The last thing I think really is on a personal development note, and I've talked about this earlier. It's, compare your ego to your bank account. If you're already making the kind of money that you're happy with and you feel like it's stable, this might just be a fun little side project for you. I don't know. But if you're not, you got to look at why. And for me, the reason why I didn't have the income or the time freedom that I wanted was because I was so hung up on telling people at a cocktail party that I was a lawyer. And when I realized how stupid that was and selfish that was, and how, it was holding my family back and creating all these obstacles in my life, and let go of it, then my business really started to grow and expand. So that's the other thing, is really taking a deep dive in looking at the mirror and figuring out, what is holding you back, what's standing in your way, and then really tackling those issues. But I think along, just the bigger picture of everything, have fun. Just have fun and understand that, again, this is a business about helping people. It's also a business that's filled with fantastic people. I talked at the top of the call about how much fun it's been to do these calls with the other elite coaches and swap calls and get to know people better. Most of my best friends are coaches, and most of them are not on my team. They're people that I've met at events, and we've connected. Jimmy Hayes Nelson is probably my best friend, and Jimmy and I met on that France trip, and have become such close friends. And I think when I first started this business, I never could have envisioned that there was a community like that was going to love and support me. Through I've been through a lot of difficult stuff. This divorce has been really challenging for me. And I've just been surrounded by nothing but really positive people who really love me and really want me to succeed. And that's just never something that I really saw coming, but that's something that's there for you. That's a big piece of who we are. And so, I will tell you, dive in with the community, have fun, get to know people, build a team, and make a lead.
And make a lead. I don't want to keep you much longer, but I have one quick question before we go. We talk a lot about personal development. Yes. Your 3 top personal development picks. Yeah.
And this is a thing I kind of left out of the story, but the other big thing that really happened for me was, again, the fall of 2008, where the light bulb went on. I was at a seminar. It's called Psi Seminars, and you can find that at psiseminars.com. And it's a 3-day personal development journey where you're not just sitting in the audience listening. It's really interactive. And they talk about personality types. You take a real deep dive into who you are and where you're at, and a real serious assessment of what's going on in your life right now. And it's really the first time that I hit the pause button. And that's when I really started to look forward and go, oh, wow, what if I keep doing this for the next 30 years? That's where that all happened for me, was at that 3-day seminar. Then I went on to there's another 7-day seminar where you go up to this ranch in Northern California, and it's just insane. So that's definitely my top, go to a seminar, dig in, really grind it out, which I think is the most beneficial thing you can do. I'm also a big believer in just constantly, constantly keeping the pump going. So Darren Hardy has this analogy of, and it's about consistency, right? And he talks about this well pump. And so if you find a well pump for a groundwater well, and you want to get it started, you got to pump it like crazy. But once you get it flowing, You just have to steadily pump it, right? So I'm a big believer in keeping that pump going. Jim Rohn is probably my favorite. I just found another book of his that I'm listening to now. I listened to it for the hour-and-a-half ride that I went on this morning. And it's about building character. And I was like, God, I've never heard this Jim Rohn audio. How is that possible? Cool. And got that book, and I'll listen to that book. So audiobooks are a big one for me. I think, when I'm not doing anything, I'm listening to something. If I'm on a bike ride or out for a run or mowing the lawn or kind of doing whatever, I have something going on in my brain. And I don't do it as much anymore, but I used to sleep with that on. that Jim Rohn's Art of Exceptional Living, if you get the 6-disc, unabridged one, it's like a book on how to live your life. And I definitely really dug in with that whole thing. And so I think that's a big one for audio.
That's one of my favorites.
I also think that I expand the definition of personal development as well. So I think that, those first two things are about, what's going on in here and, what you're doing to improve yourself and work on, capitalize on your strengths and work on your weaknesses. The third thing, though, is really that I look at the time that I spend reading business development books or, going to things like Chalene Johnson's Marketing Impact Academy, because I do a lot of online marketing. That's how I do my business. That for me is personal development, right? That's teaching me how to get better at my business. And so that's always something that I really integrate into what I do. And then I think I guess the last thing I would tell you about personal development is that, like everything in this business, the progression is learn, practice, succeed, teach. That's the progression. Learn, practice, succeed, teach. So you learn something new on the personal development side of things. Then you put it into play, practice it for a while. Then you have some success. The last thing is where most people just leave that out. They don't do the last step. And the last step is what is going to get you paid. Teach it. If you learn something new and it works for you, go teach it to other people, whether that's how to make Success Club, how to use Instagram, how to take personal responsibility, any of that stuff. That last element of teaching people is so important for what we do. And that's the thing I would tell you about personal development really is don't hold it in. Like any good thing, it's meant to be shared. And, really go out there and share it and teach people, what you know.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time today. Everybody, we will have this posted, and I will get you the link to this as soon as we're done. So thank you again for joining us this afternoon.
My pleasure.
All right. Bye, guys.
Come say hi to me at Summit or wherever you see me.